Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome in to a brand new episode of Spencer Talks NASCAR. I'm your host, Spencer Urquhart, ready to dive right in to 2025 silly season talk, y'all. Silly season has arrived. It got kicked off with Michael McDowell signing with Spire, and the rumors now are swirling out of control. Will Kaulig merge with Trackhouse? Will Stewart merge with Front Row or possibly shut down? We'll discuss all of that. I'm going to predict the 36 car grid for next year among the chartered teams. The 36 chartered teams are going to predict that, assuming they even have charters next season. I would think they will come to an agreement, NASCAR and the race teams, but so far a deal has not been reached. Hopefully they can reach it soon. Hopefully NASCAR's willing to budge a little bit. Sounds like they're kind of squeezing the race teams there at the revenue, but that's a topic for another day. We're just going to hope in this scenario, we're just going to hope that they get it figured out, and we'll proceed business as usual and predict who the 36 chartered teams will be next year with driver predictions and all that. So we're going to get right into it here, y'all. All right, so we're going to start this thing off. I've got a spreadsheet with all of the race teams. We're going to kick it off with Hendrick Motorsports here. Got it here right on the screen. We'll have the number, team driver, primary sponsor, manufacturer, and engine. So yeah, we'll have all that here for y'all. 2025 Cup teams. Let's get into it. Hendrick. All right, Kyle Larson. I have returning to 5. Chase Elliott at 9. Byron 24. Alex Bowman to 48. Don't see any big changes here. If there were to be any changes, it'd probably be to the 48 team. If will Alex Bowman stick around there, being that he hasn't performed at the level of his teammates Larson, Elliott, and Byron, who all have wins on this season. Bowman yet to win, but he's been pretty solid. He's in position to make the playoffs, and he signed a multi-year extension not that long ago with Hendrick. So I think he sticks around. Ally seems to be a solid sponsor for him, but definitely no big changes to the other three. Maybe Larson will eventually get a sponsor other than Hendrick Cars, but it seems like Rick Hendrick doesn't mind sponsoring one of the best drivers in the world with Hendrick Cars on that 5 car. Good looking car too, by the way. So yeah. Then Chase Elliott, Napa, that seems to be a strong relationship. William Byron, Exalta, just one of his primary sponsors. He's got some other ones, Liberty University and other ones. So yeah, don't see any changes here. Hendrick Motorsports, the top team in the Cup Series right now. Figured we'd just start with them and keep it moving, kind of, not necessarily in order, but, just kind of my general thought on who the top teams are. But we'll get toward the end, and there'll be a few surprises for y'all at the end, especially the last team on the list, which is a team that's not currently in the Cup Series, but we're going to get into that here. Going to tell y'all why I see the thing playing out the way I see it. But let's move on now to Joe Gibbs Racing, y'all. I don't see any big changes here either. The only thing that could possibly shake up JGR's driver lineup, I feel like, would be if Martin Truex Jr. retires, but he's still been performing at a very high level this season, so I think he sticks around for at least one more year. Denny Hamlin, there's always the chance he could go drive for his own team there at 2311 Racing, but I think he sticks around with Joe Gibbs Racing as long as he's full-time, being that they give him the best chance to win. He's already got 3 wins on the year, plus the Clash. Like, he's sitting pretty driving that 11 car. So him and Truex, I think, stay despite being over 40 years old. And Christopher Bell, he's kind of had a rocky year this year. Got the win, though. I definitely think he sticks around for a while. He's a cornerstone driver there for JGR, being that he's so young. And then Ty Gibbs, of course, the Joe Gibbs grandson, the young up-and-comer, having a better year this year than he did last year as a rookie. As of late, it's been a little off, but started off the year very strong. Looked like he was about to get a win there. So he'll look to join his teammate soon and get in the win column, but I definitely see Ty Gibbs sticking around the Cup Series. Don't think he's going to get demoted or something. I know some people may have thought they rushed him too soon, but he's so far lived up to the expectations and has monster energy backing him. All these guys have strong sponsorship situations. So, yeah, unless Truex would retire, I don't see JGR having any changes. If Truex were to retire, Chandler Smith and Corey Heim come to mind. They seem to be the top 2 Toyota development drivers right now. Heim in the Truck Series, Smith in the Xfinity Series. Heim was the one when Eric Jones was out, he was tapped to fill in there on that 43 car. So if Truex would go, that could complicate things because then Bass Pro Shops would also likely be out the door. And I don't think Heim or Smith really bring their own funding, so sponsorship could be a little tricky there. But like I said, I think Truex stays, so I don't see any changes occurring driver-wise for JGR. Of course, they're Toyota's top team there. 2311's trending up, man. 2311's looking dangerous, but JGR still the alpha team at Toyota. Then we move on to Team Penske, who has not had the year they were hoping for, but I don't think they panic. I think they keep their 3-driver lineup the same. The one that definitely could be on the hot seat, though, is Austin Cindric. I know he's Tim Cindric's son and all that, but, man, there's probably a lot of people screaming out, oh, Nepo, he got the seat because of that. But he was really good in the Xfinity Series, so I think they stick with him. I mean, he's a talented driver. He's just not really lived up to the hype so far. Still kind of young, so just probably needs more seat time, and I think he'll get there eventually. I think they stick with him. It definitely doesn't hurt that he's Cindric's son, Tim Cindric, that is the team president, but things will turn around at Team Penske. There could be some big changes over there, but I think for 2025, I think they keep it the same. If their struggles continue into 2025, that's when I see big changes happening. So I don't see big changes happening just yet, being that they freaking won the past 2 Cup Series titles with Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano. Blaney this year still been a pretty solid driver. He hadn't been, at the level we expected him to be, being the defending champion, but he's been solid. So, and then Logano, he has struggled outside of the playoffs right now, but we all know Joey Logano is capable of going on a heater. He could still win a race or 2 this year, and if he does, should make the playoffs and all that. So a slow start for sure, but this team could bounce back, and they've all got pretty steady sponsorship situations there. So I don't see any big changes happening at Team Penske, despite their struggles. Unlike Hendrick and JGR, I mean, both of them are not only have steady drivers and sponsors, they are both thriving performance-wise. Penske's performance not been quite as good, but I think they'll stick with it, being that they weren't that far behind not all that long ago. But anyway, let's move on now to the up-and-coming 2311 Racing, who I see expanding next season. I see them picking up a charter from Stewart Haas to expand to 3 cars. Bubba and Reddick, I see staying on for sure. Reddick's having a great year this year. Bubba, not as strong, but still, good enough to keep the seat, and he's got talent. So, he's definitely someone I think that's going to stick around at least for the next year or 2, and maybe more if he can up his performance a little bit. But Corey Heim, I see stepping in. I have it number 67, might be something different, but 23, 45, 67, kind of go with the pattern there. They've also had to be the 50 car, being a Mobile One 50 years thing, I believe. And I see Mobile One, with Stewart Haas. So I'm just going to come out and say it. In this scenario, I see Stewart Haas shutting down. I really do. I see them just shutting down and selling all 4 of their charters. You will not see Stewart Haas Racing on this chart. So if you're a Tony Stewart fan, I'm sorry to say, I think his days in NASCAR are about over. I don't think he's really worried about NASCAR anymore. He seems more focused on the NHRA drag racing and stuff, especially now that he's married to a drag racer there, Leah Pruitt, I believe her name is, and she's doing good things. They seem to be doing good over there, and I don't blame him. I mean, the way NASCAR business model is, it's tough unless you're Rick Hendrick or Joe Gibbs. I mean, it's a tough thing to do, but 2311 is definitely done really well. Helps that they have Michael Jordan backing them, and he seems really invested. He was so hyped up when Tyler Reddick won at Talladega. So Corey Heim, I see jumping in that 3rd 2311 car. I think they get the charter, go full-time. I know Denny Hamlin's been threatening he's like, well, if we don't get this deal done, if we don't get a square deal, we're not going to be all in, and we're not going to worry about a 3rd charter. But like I said earlier, this is on the basis that they get a deal done. So I'm going to say they get a deal done, and that the young Corey Heim steps in, because I think 2311 is going to want to get this guy in the seat and get him a part of the team, because if not, JGR is going to scoop him up as soon as Truex retires. So I think 2311, jockeying with Joe Gibbs to see who's going to be the top Toyota team for not just now, but for the future. And I think 2311 really positions themselves good here by signing Corey Heim. I know Toyota's got some other good young drivers there, Chandler Smith in Xfinity, and I think William Swalich, the young guy in the ARCA series that's been on the prospect list. He's very young still. I don't even think he's 18 yet, but he's someone that I believe in the Toyota development pipeline and will probably eventually get to the Cup Series assuming he keeps developing. But Corey Heim, someone I think's Cup ready, even though he hadn't run a full Xfinity Series season yet. He's just done trucks and done very well in the truck series, and made a couple spot starts this year for Eric Jones, held his own in those. So I'm going to say Corey Heim gets the third 2311 car courtesy of Stewart Haas Racing selling their charters, and he's our first new driver so far. All the other ones we went through didn't have any changes, but I see 2311 expanding and signing Corey Heim, who will be a Rookie of the Year candidate, assuming he makes the jump to Cup next year. All right, RFK Racing up next, and they're a team that a lot of people have speculated about adding a third charter potentially. Well, I think it's possible. I'm going to say they stick with the two teams, the two cars there, Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. I think a big reason for that is that Ford, I don't think is going to really be looking to expand in the Cup Series, being that they're focusing a lot of effort and energy, and most importantly, and this is all this stuff that comes down to money on Formula One. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that F1 effort they're doing there, that's going to cost a lot. I mean, Formula One is the top dog right now in NASCAR, doing its thing. NASCAR is definitely not hurting right now, definitely in a lot better shape than IndyCar as far as being the top American motorsport. But as far as the global industry, I mean, Formula One's king, and Ford going over there, that's going to take up a lot of racing budget. So, I still think Ford will be invested in NASCAR, but as far as them wanting to have their teams expand, I don't know about that. If anything, they're going to want to downsize, and Stewart Haas selling off everything is a perfect excuse to downsize. So I'm going to say Keselowski's team eventually gets to 3 cars, maybe 4 if they keep thriving. I mean, they've been the best Ford team this year. Let's be real. I mean, Brad Keselowski just got the win at Darlington. Chris Buescher, so close to winning the past 2 weeks. I mean, they've been the best Ford team. So wouldn't shock me if they picked up one of the charters, but I'm going to say they don't, being that the state of Ford right now in NASCAR, not the best. But, hey, RFK is proven doubters wrong about Ford. They've been the one Ford team that's been right up there with the Chevys and Toyotas. So moving on now to Richard Childress Racing, RCR. This is a tough decision for me if I was going to have them expand the 3 cars, being that they've kind of struggled this year. I thought about giving that third to RFK or front row, because I see this also being one of the Stewart Haas charters. But the thing to me that sold it with RCR is that, man, they've got a ready-made guy in the Xfinity Series in Austin Hill. I mean, this guy's feel like been Cup ready and has run some Cup races this year. Hadn't done much with him, but I mean, that third team there still very green and getting that third car back on. But I think if they can get the sponsorship, United Rentals, the company that's been sponsoring Austin Hill there, in the Xfinity Series, they can get them to make the jump. I think the deal gets done, and this is a deal to where I think it also helps that Austin Dillon in this scenario will be moving into a leadership role. I think he'll basically be RC's number 2, and with RC getting up in age there, Richard Childress, I mean, they're going to need some new leadership over there. So Austin Dillon struggling so badly as a driver, I see him stepping out of that 3 car, and I think they renumber it to 29 again, go back to 29, being that Dillon, they gave him the 3, being that he was Richard's grandson, but he won't be in the car anymore. So I think they will go back to 29 with that car and put Noah Gragson in the seat, and the Bass Pro Shop sponsor already there, and Noah's a Bass Pro Shops guy. He's been running Bass Pro Shop schemes this year with Stewart Haas and done very well, as a matter of fact, in that Stewart Haas 10 car. So I think he definitely lands a full-time Cup ride next year, even if Stewart Haas folds. And to me, RCR is a good spot for him. He's been a Chevy guy before. And then Kyle Busch, I think, stays in the 8. There's been some speculation. I brought it up a few weeks ago about him possibly jumping ship as soon as next season, being that things haven't gone as smoothly at RCR as he would like. But I think he sticks it out at least one more year. I think there's an option year on his contract. I'm going to say the option gets picked up and that KB gives it at least one more year. that'd be year 3. And if things still aren't better for him, if he's still not a consistent contender running top 5, top 10 most weeks, then at that point, I think he looks for other options. Maybe Hendrick will move on from Bowman. Maybe Truex retires and JGR will have a reunion with him. You never know. Maybe 23XI expands again. I mean, his brother Kurt still an advisor over there, I believe. So, yeah. So I think Kyle sticks it out with RCR at least one more year and maybe finishes his career there if things go well. But I don't know, man. And I mean, they got Jesse Love, another young guy knocking on the door. That's another thing. I think RCR going to want to expand, with Austin Hill, Jesse Love doing so well in the Xfinity series. You want to make sure you keep those guys in-house. So I'm going to say they get the 3rd charter and go to 3 full-time cars next season. All right, on to Trackhouse now. Trackhouse been in the news a lot lately because of the Kaulig rumors, and I'm going to predict that they purchased 1 charter from Kaulig, but I'm not going to predict the merger. I'm going to say this is one where Kaulig, I think, stays with 1 charter and is become just a single car team. And I'm going to say Trackhouse expands to 3 full-time teams. I don't think they're quite equipped to handle 4 just yet, but they're still a growing team, even though they haven't performed quite as well this season. And I'm going to say SVG gets the 3rd car, Shane Van Gisbergen. And you're probably wondering, well, what about Zane Smith? He was under contract with them, but I kind of think they might release Zane Smith, being that he has struggled so badly. I mean, I know it's with Spire. It hadn't been in Trackhouse equipment, but he has not done well in that 71 car. And I mean, Trackhouse, they're a team. They're looking for results. I mean, Ross Chastain's done okay. I mean, Suarez, he got the win, but hadn't done that well. I think Van Gisbergen's the guy. You put him in that 91, which maybe they'll renumber that and then keep Project 91 as a 4th car, which is another reason why I don't see them doing the merger. And I think they're going to want to keep an option car, to bring in other international stars. And then with Van Gisbergen, though, I think he's at an age to where if you're going to make him full-time, you got to do it soon. I mean, he's getting – I wouldn't say he's old, but I think he's in his 30s. He's not like a young pup. He's not like a prospect per se. I mean, for NASCAR purposes, he is, being that he hadn't had much experience. But I think he's someone at his age. He came over from Australia. He's going to want a cup ride soon, and he seems to have good sponsorship backing. So being that he won the Chicago street race last year, and it's done okay in Xfinity. He hadn't done great, but he's been solid enough to where, being that he's always a threat to win at road courses, and you just need 1 win these days to make the playoffs. So I'm going to say ASVG gets the 3rd Trackhouse seat courtesy of Kaulig, and I think Kaulig downsizes to being a single car team next year in the Cup Series. All right, moving on now to Legacy Motor Club. A lot of people have speculated about them potentially getting the 3rd charter. Man, it's like everyone that's not a 4-car team, everyone's been speculating about them getting an extra car for next season. But I think Legacy sticks with 2. I think the John Hunter Nemechek, Eric Jones duo is very solid. They're doing okay, but not where they want to be just yet. I don't think they should expand. I really don't. I don't think a 3rd team is what they need right now. I think they just need to keep building and keep focusing in on doing what they can with the 2 cars there, 2 full-time young drivers that are on the rise there, J.H.N. and Eric Jones. I think they need to just stick with what's working with those 2 and not worry about expanding. And Jimmy Johnson will probably still want to run some races part-time there in a 3rd car, and then maybe they'll eventually get a full-time 3rd entry when he retires for good, which I think would happen in the next year or 2. But anyway, I just think it's best that they stick with 2, and I think they'll come to that decision unless they can get a really good deal on a charter. But I think there's going to be a lot of teams bidding for those Stewart-Haas charters, assuming they become available, which it appears that they already are. Because I think even if Stewart-Haas returns next season, it'll only be 2 or 3 cars. I don't think there's any way they stay a 4-car team, and I don't think they stay at all. But that'll be for later in the episode. You'll find out who I have purchasing their other 2 charters, being that I have 23XI and RCR purchasing their first 2. But let's move on to Front Row Motorsports, who I have picking up one of the aforementioned Stewart-Haas drivers. Chase Briscoe I have going to the 34 car, being that Michael McDowell has announced that he'll be leaving Front Row Motorsports, so that car will definitely be open next season. So I think Briscoe takes it. I think he brings the Mahindra sponsorship with him. Not sure if they'll renumber it to 14. Probably not. I think Tony Stewart's done, y'all. Like I said, I think he's done, and I think the 14 will just kind of go by the wayside, being that was his thing. He wanted to do that to honor AJ Foyt. So I think out of respect to Tony, I think teams will refrain from using the 14 unless he latches on somewhere as like a part owner, kind of like Jimmy Johnson did with Legacy. But I think Tony Stewart's done with NASCAR. He's been frustrated with the direction of the sport. I think he's ready to cash in his chips and go home. I think he's done. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents on that. Maybe he'll stick around. But for the sake of this episode, I'm predicting that he will not. And so I think Chase Briscoe stays with Ford and ends up with Front Row. I think it's a great fit for him, being that Front Row is now a key partner team with Ford. And I think he'll do well in this seat. Briscoe, the talented driver, had a lot of success in Xfinity. He's had some Cup success, has a Cup Series win. Hadn't done quite as well as some would hope, but he's done okay. He's in the playoffs right now. I mean, considering Stewart Haas Racing's kind of down right now, I think Briscoe's done pretty well. So I think he'll land on his feet with Front Row Motorsports. And then Todd Gilliland, I think, sticks around in that 38. His dad, David, of course, drove the 38 with Yates, and Todd's done okay in that car this year. He's got the generator sponsorship there. I think they'll stick around. So, yeah, Todd Gilliland, I think, is someone that Front Row keeps around for the foreseeable future. And now on to Spire Motorsports, y'all. Michael McDowell, that is official. Their lineup is official for next year. Corey LaJoie, Michael McDowell, Carson Hocevar. Those three are locked in. They announced it that when McDowell signed it, they're bringing back LaJoie and Hocevar, and I think that makes a lot of sense, especially Hocevar. He's done very well as a rookie, looking like he might win Rookie of the Year this year. I thought he was the longest shot of the three contenders, him, Josh Berry, and Zane Smith, but it seems like Carson Hocevar is on his way to winning the award, so props to him. Corey LaJoie's kind of had a down year, but he could turn it around. He's still fairly young. He's getting up there in age a little bit, but he's still, I think around 30. So, I think they need to stick with him, being that he's the guy he was kind of like their launching point piece. So he was a guy that stuck with him through the rough times. And I think they'll stick with him at least another year or two. And then McDowell, I think he'll bring over the Love sponsorship, and at 71 car will be looking nice next year. I think McDowell will definitely have that thing running better than it's been this year. I don't think he'd have signed there if he thought otherwise. I don't expect him to be a consistent contender to win races, but at plate tracks, he'll be up there. Road courses, he'll be up there. And plus, he just brings a good veteran leadership to the team. I feel like they needed a veteran driver, and I think he's the perfect fit there. So it must be nice for a team like Spire with all these other teams facing uncertainty, to have your driver lineup set already for next season. So props to Spire. They are trending up. All right, moving on to the three single car teams. Well, there's only two of these are single car teams currently. Kaulig is currently a 2-car team, but I see him downsizing to a single car team next year, as I mentioned with the Trackhouse discussion. But anyway, I have them being just a 1-car to 16 with a lot of different drivers. I'm going to say the main two, though, will be AJ Allmendinger and Daniel Hemrick. Hemrick is currently full-time in a 31 car, but I see them selling off that charter to Trackhouse, and I see Hemrick sliding into the 16 part-time. I think Allmendinger mainly run the road courses and a few other races, and Hemrick will run a lot of ovals there. And then they'll probably work in a few young drivers as well. Josh Williams, Derek Kraus potentially. They didn't list them because I think Allmendinger and Hemrick are going to get the majority of the seat time there for Kaulig, and then they'll eventually try to groom a young driver to take over that thing full time. But I think for now, the best bet for them is to let Allmendinger, Hemrick, and some other guys rotate in that seat. And I mean, with Allmendinger at road courses, you could always win a race or two. So I think Kaulig is still trying to build something there, but I think they're just going to have to take a step back a little bit and do what they can with what they've got. So let's move on to the Wood Brothers. And it sounds like Harrison Burton is out the door at the Wood Brothers. I've got Cole Custer landing this ride. There's a lot of guys that could land this ride. There's going to be a lot of, assuming Stewart Haas goes under, there's going to be a lot of guys looking for seats next year. And there's only 36 chartered full-time seats. So Custer, though, I think takes it because he has done so well in the Xfinity Series. His teammate Riley Herbst has done pretty good as well. And then as far as guys from Stewart Haas, Josh Berry, haven't gotten to him yet. I have him landing somewhere, though. Don't worry, any Josh Berry fans out there. I got him landing somewhere pretty good here that we're going to get to at the end. But I think Custer gets his seat over Ryan Preece because I think Ryan Preece would be the other name Wood Brothers would have to consider, being that he's done okay in his time with Stewart Haas, but not good enough to warrant the seat over Custer because, I mean, Custer drove that 41, got replaced by Preece due to lack of performance. And let's be real, Preece has not really been an upgrade over Custer. I mean, Custer at least had a win, kind of a fluke win, but at least he got a win. Preece has not had any wins. So I think if it's down to Preece and Custer, I think Custer will get the seat here at Wood Brothers. You know, they've got the Motorcraft Quick Lane sponsorship, a few other companies that are on there with a Harrison Burton. I don't know if some of those are tied to Burton, but I think they'll figure it out enough to where Custer will be able to get the seat. Maybe his dad could help with funding a little bit. I know he's got a good relationship with Gene Haas. Maybe Gene Haas will work with Wood Brothers a little bit to help out Cole Custer. So I have him landing at 21 seat. And then JTG, Daugherty Racing, sounds like the JTG side of that might be going by the wayside. But it sounds like Brad Daugherty and company are committed to keeping that car rolling. And Ricky Stenhouse, I see staying there, you know, Kroger and all those brands that might be going away if the JTG stuff goes away. So we'll see. Might have to get a new sponsor, but I think Ricky will for sure stick it out for next few years. I think it's a good spot for him, being that he's at an age to where he's probably never going to land an elite cup ride, but he's a quality cup guy, you know, and with JTG, I mean, Daytona 500 winner fairly recently. So yeah, I think he sticks in that car. Yeah, recently signed an extension there, so he definitely will for at least next year and probably the next few years. So let's move on now to Rick Ware Racing. Only a couple more to go. Rick Ware, I think, will bring in Riley Herbst for the 15. Could just keep it split up still. You know, Kaz Grala is a quality driver. I mean, they could do what they're doing this year, the same approach. But I think Riley Herbst, if he can get enough funding there with Monster, you know, and I think with Stewart Haas folding, they'll probably fold their Xfinity deal as well, to where their Xfinity guys will probably be wanting cup rides, being that they've done well in Xfinity. So I'm going to predict Herbst gets the seat. Might have to get a few other sponsors just besides Monster, because they're sponsoring Tyler Reddick and Ty Gibbs would be a lot for them. But I mean, Past Pro Shop sponsoring 3 guys right now. So Herbst, you know, might be able to pull it off. And, you know, if Rick Ware can get a few other sponsors, I think that'll be enough for him to get this seat full time. But don't rule out Kaz Grala. He might get it, but I think Herbst brings more funding, and as a result, I think that's going to be the tiebreaker for him. And I think he's still eligible for Rookie of the Year, so he'd be another Rookie of the Year contender there. Him, Corey Heim, Shane Van Gisbergen, and maybe forgetting one other guy. I think those would be the 3, though, for a Rookie of the Year next year. And then Justin Haley, I have returning. He is on the multi-year deal there after leaving Kaulig. That's looking like a good decision, because he's a lot of weeks been outrunning Daniel Hemrick in that 31. So I think Justin Haley sticks around there. Some rumors saying he could go to RFK in a 3rd car, which, I mean, I guess that's possible, but, you know, I think RFK, being that they're aligned with Rick Ware, I don't know if they're going to want to steal Rick Ware's only hope right now. It seems like Justin Haley, he gives this team hope, and I think they've got a good bond. I think he's going to stick around there for at least the next few years. If he keeps running too well, then yeah, a 4 team will poach him. But I think he's been good, but he hadn't been like that good. Or I don't think if teams are going to come busting the door down to get him. But, you know, we'll see. But I'm going to predict that he stays with Rick Ware. All right, the moment you've all been waiting for. You've probably been wondering, who else? Who's going to get in on this thing? You know, and if you've been keeping up with silly season, this won't come as a shock, because, I mean, their names always in the rumor mill. I think y'all know who I'm talking about. But I'm going to predict it, y'all. Junior Motorsports will go cup racing in 2025 after purchasing a pair of charters from Stewart Haas Racing. And my prediction is that Josh Berry will get one of the seats in the number 4 car. I think they'll keep the number and stuff there and the same team and everything, just be with Chevrolet. Rodney Childress and crew, I think, come over. So basically the same team that Barry's been with this year, I think, will go over to Junior Motorsports in a cup car next year. And so I think they could contend pretty quickly. And then in the second seat, I have Zane Smith ending up here. I have him getting out of his deal with Trackhouse and going to Stewart Haas. I mean, not Stewart Haas, Junior Motorsports, a charter courtesy of Stewart Haas. And that, I believe, will be number 88. I think they'll definitely want to work the 8 or the 88 in. But right now the 8 is taken by RCR and Kyle Busch. I don't think Dale's going to want to mess with what Kyle Busch has going. So I think he'll make this the number 88 for Zane Smith, who has Focused Health, I believe, been his main sponsor for this season with Spire. So I'm going to say they move with him here to Junior Motorsports. And then, I mean, Junior's a good marketer. They'll be able to probably get some other sponsors there. But yeah, I got Zane Smith and Josh Berry ending up here at Junior Motorsports. Zane Smith drove 10 races for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series and did pretty well. And of course, we know Josh Berry had a lot of success with Junior's team in the Xfinity Series, helped get him full-time Cup seat with Stewart Haas. But yeah, I think they both land on their feet here with Junior Motorsports. Dale Jr. always talks about, man, I want to get in the Cup Series, but this guy, I got to find the right time, and I feel like his sister, Kelly Earnhardt, is very, savvy. I'm business savvy. She's not just going to want to jump in. I know Dale's probably the guy, oh, come on, we could get in. Let's do it. But I think he'll be able to sell her on this because, I mean, you're basically getting Cup-ready equipment right out the chute. I mean, the only thing, Chevrolet, I mean, anything bold is new. So, yeah, the Chevrolet thing would be new, obviously, being that Stewart Haas had been a Ford team. But, other than that, I mean, everything else would be pretty much the same. I mean, it'd be the next-gen chassis and all that. I mean, they've been, have to move the equipment over from Tony Stewart's shop, the Stewart Haas shop, over to Junior Motorsports. But, I mean, it's like, I mean, they could just, I'm sure they'll have to expand their shop and all that. But I think it'll pay off. I think this is the perfect time for Junior Motorsports to jump in the Cup Series. Because they always talk about when's the right opportunity. I think this is the perfect opportunity because you're getting – equipment that's been running Cup and they've been pretty good. I mean, Stewart Haas this year's been a solid team. They haven't been just a doormat. I mean, they've been a contending team a lot of weeks. Barry's run well some weeks. Gregson's done well. Briscoe's in the playoffs right now. The only car that hadn't been that great is Priest. And, yeah, I think this is the opportunity that Dale and Kelly have been waiting for. So I think they pounce on it. And in Junior Motorsports, I believe will finally become a Cup team after years of speculation, and Chevrolet gets even more cards in the deck with Ford, I think, kind of scaling back their efforts a little bit. So we shall see how it ends up. But yeah, that's my prediction. 2025 Cup Series grid. Take it for what you will. We'll go through it here real quick. Got Zane Smith and Josh Berry going to the new Junior Motorsports Cup team. Rick Ware Racing got Riley Herbst taking over the 15 full-time. Justin Haley is still the same there in the 51. JTG got Stenhouse returning. Wood Brothers got Custer. Cole Custer taking over for Harrison Burton. Kaulig, I got downsizing a one car. Allmendinger, Hendrick, and others I have racing that one car. Spire, Michael McDowell, the new addition there. Everything else pretty much the same. Front row, Ty Gillen sticks around. Chase Briscoe added to replace McDowell. Legacy Motor Club got their lineup staying the same. Trackhouse got them expanding to 3 cars, and SVG taking over the third. Got RCR making some big changes. Austin Dillon steps down from full-time racing. Noah Gregson takes over, and then Austin Hill. And he's the one I forgot to mention for the Rookie of the Year stuff. Austin Hill would be the other one. Corey Heim, Austin Hill, Riley Herbst, and now I forgot the fourth name, damn it. But, you get it. It'd be a good Rookie of the Year battle, assuming all this stuff goes down. RFK got staying the same. Keselowski and Buescher, their 2-car team. 2311 got expanded into 3 cars. Corey Heim, the rookie. He'd be a rookie there in the third with Reddick and Bubba. And then these other teams, the big teams, got staying the same. Penske, Cindric, Blaney, Logano. JGR with Hamlin, Truex, Seabell, and Ty Gibbs, and then Hendrick we have made it back to the top here. Hendrick, Larson, Elliott, Byron, and Bowman. That's going to do it, y'all. Let me know what you think. 2025 Cup Series will be here before we know it. Still got a lot of races left in 2024, though, not even halfway through the year. And got the All-Star race this weekend. Let me know who you got taking that. I'm not going to be real, though. I was not impressed with last year's All-Star race. I think it's cool that they're going to North Wilkesboro, but it seemed like probably better in-person showed it on TV. Not a lot of passing there, and it kind of rough to watch last year. Be interesting to see if Kyle Larson can get there in time. As of now, looking like Kevin Harvick's probably going to have to be in the 5 car, so we'll see how he does. But, yeah, All-Star race, not real excited about it, but you never know. Maybe it'll surprise me. I'll check it out. I think it'll be, Sunday evening, so have fun with that. And we'll be back next week, y'all. Next week might be our last episode for a while. Might have to go on a hiatus here this summer. Just had a lot going on in life as of late, and they want to get the fantasy football brand back going. Spencer the Guru. So if y'all know me from there, we'll have some fantasy football content soon. And NASCAR content, though, isn't going to stop. Just might be on a pause for a little bit. I'm definitely not ending the show. I've had a good time doing this show, and so I'll have to take a few weeks off, but we'll be back hopefully sooner rather than later. So this has been Spencer Talks NASCAR. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace out.